that's what I want to talk about, is segueing into, with a lateral chunk and a bunch of rapport and metaphors, into this concept that everything's a resource, something I learned from Matt. And, things like the law of requisite variety, like the person with the most flexibility will have the most influence on the system, the saying of like, how we do one thing is how we do everything. Or I like to say how we do one thing is how we do most things, because everything could infer an attachment, potentially, because I'm a nerd. I'm a massive nerd. There's another thing of, anyone else here a nerd or a geek? A massive NLP nerd? Yeah. So really daring to be yourselves and letting, I think it's how to play your inner child, and can we make business fun? So this thing about everything as a resource, has anyone not heard that? I just want to double check. Anyone not heard of that saying, everything is a resource? Okay, sweet. I just want to can explain this is, imagine like when something's a resource, okay, better saying, there's no lack of resources, just a lack of resourcefulness. There's no shortages. The idea that, we can always, if we're being a cause and a creator rather than like being a victim or aggressor or rescuer, at the effect end of the equation, when we're a cause, when we're present at present time, there's never that there's always more than enough. There's an abundance. Is that making sense so far? Just want to check. Yeah, sick. So with this outlook, a lot of the time, and it's even in jiu-jitsu, anyone here a jiu-jitsu fan, BJJ? Yes, sweet. So I've got a martial arts background as well. So I love the idea from a BJJ mentor that, if you get in a situation in this wrestling, wrestling sport, it's like it can feel like there's no way out. Has anyone ever been in a situation in life, business, martial arts, or anything where you felt like there's no way out or there's a no-win situation? Anyone ever felt like you're that stuck and you're like, you just can't see, that like there's got to be a way because the game's not over? That's why I like the law of requisite variety, but also the idea to be able to be flexible. We have to agree that we're at cause, that we're creators, and that everything has to be a resource in some way. So somehow, whatever force is being applied, whatever situation we're in, whatever the pressure, challenge, or crisis is, there has to be a way to change it or change ourselves into a way where it helps us move forwards. Like Newton's third law. It's does anyone know Newton's third law? That one. That anyone? Yeah, they've got to leave something behind of equal value to move forwards. That kind of concept. It's like alchemy. I love this because what if everything is magic? Each and every moment that we're living at the moment, what if we really are creators? So if that's the case, what if whatever it is that you're feeling stuck on, or whatever is logistically, tangibly, logically, like right there in the way, what if that's the key to the breakthrough? What if there's a way, maybe if it's just shifting our perspective? Sometimes something, we have to let it go. Sometimes we have to let go of the outcome, stop interfering. Sometimes it's literally just walking away. Maybe it's leaving it and going and doing something else for good, or for now, or for a moment and coming back. But what if what if there's a way, instead of giving up, that we can trade up? That's the lesson I got from the jiu-jitsu master, was, can we trade in, maybe it's people, stuff, or things? And if you have a pen and pad, I want you to write that down. I'm not skilled in the art of PowerPoint presentations yet. People, stuff, or things. Matt's going to teach me how to PowerPoint one day when I'm older. So people, stuff, things. In terms of resources, there's probably more, but these three categories, it's a great framework. Now, sometimes, you ever been in a situation where you feel like someone is in your way, or maybe they're holding you back, or they're triggering you, or there's a drama or a conflict? What if that was the key? What if they, or a community, or a person, it could be a person on TV, who knows? What if this person was the resource? And it reminds me of my first session with Matt, where the immovable object was my father. And I didn't realize, anyone got shit around their father or dealt with some shit around their father? Who's got some daddy issues in the Right. Awesome. Yeah, me and dad, like, we are like so good now, thanks to this work I did with Matt. And the first 1 or 2 sessions I did with Matt, I realized I had some repressed anger and I wanted my dad to be a different way, but I wasn't expressing it. And I thought that by not having blues with him in arguments, that was a good thing, but I was still having it in my head. You ever like have it in your head with somebody, but not out with them? Anyone ever do that? Awesome. Well, what if it turned out that was a resource? I didn't realize that was there. Matt helped me bring that to awareness. And when I realized that I wanted my father to change, I realized like, oh, that's not really healthy because that's not unconditional love. That's not loving him. That's I want him to be a certain way. So, we did some work on that, some processes, and I went and integrated that, hung out with my dad with a new perspective. Now, with this, the resource, does everybody know the concept that all change is a change in meaning? You guys heard that one before? All change is a change in meaning. So I changed the meaning of what this stuff that my dad was doing. It turns out it was all, it was all for me. All the stuff, all that annoyed me, that upset me, it's all for me. It was all coming from love. And that's when I had my first like $103,000 in a month or so. It was about a month in my coaching biz at the time, a few years ago. Got a new car, hired Matt full time. And the resource, the trigger was actually my dad. The resource was the next thing, people, stuff, things. It was a thing that I had. The thing in me was my anger. Unhealed, unresolved anger. So I was able to actually leverage that anger and that hurt and that fear and that sadness and that guilt into about 100 or way more now, like 5 times that probably over the years. Plus, and that's not even the main thing. It's like him and I, like, we hang out, we can have chats, there's a lot of love, we're friends. So I wanted to put this over to you guys that maybe just a couple of people, what are you taking away from this at the moment? What's the concept here about, turning something into a resource that didn't feel like one or seem like one? Don't all jump in. Unmute. Anyone, please. Leave me hanging.
Say the question again, Richie.
Thank you. What are you taking away from this at the moment in terms of how this can be useful?
I think the concept is it's not like a resource in the sense of like money or what we think of as a resource, but it's a growth resource. It's an opportunity to actually grow through the things that have been blocking you. So you actually frame it in a positive way and see what are the learnings that this thing has for you. That's kind of what my interpretation of this.
Perfect. There's no right or wrong here, guys. It's whatever's true for you because everybody's different. Thanks, Tim. That's perfect. You've gotten something already, same as you, Danielle, for reframing the question. I've expressed this on people and things, but not actual stuff. Like money could be stuff. A block of land could be stuff. A business could be stuff. Your TV could be stuff. Maybe there's a thing, could be maybe someone's passed away and we're holding on to stuff from a breakup and we need to let go of a garage full of stuff because it's connected to things. Maybe that is a resource, but it's the emotion maybe that's connected to it. Is that making sense so far? Great. So I have another example on this. Like I've got a client, John, he's an epic relationship coach, came to me with a baby on the way, his first child, and he shared this all publicly. And he'd been doing business for a while, needed a lot of help. We brought him on board. did all the things work-wise, mindset and strategy, ended up making about 100 grand in under 6 months just before his child was born. It's pretty awesome. He came to me saying, I think I'm going to lose my family. I'm about to be broke. I don't know what to do. I need help. And I think you've got what I need. And so what we actually did was leveraged all of that fear, we leveraged his family, people, partner, baby on the way, everyone that he'd fingers in the air let down. We also looked at the stuff that he had. He had very little money. I asked him to give me half of all the money he had, even more leverage. And then we looked at the things. And we actually used things were, anger, resentment, fear, dad stuff, mom stuff, because we got so many things that could have been in the way that we could have seen if he were at the effect end of things as problems and challenges. We actually flipped him into this crisis he was in, into an opportunity, got so much leverage on him that he was actually then able, he had you think about, he had like $1 million worth of leverage in a way. You know what I mean? That was so powerful. And with all of that, there was no exit. You know that saying, does everybody know that, burn the boats or no exits? You ever heard Matt talk about that? Or heard anything like that? Well, it turbocharged his success, and he went on to make all that money. Then he hit a ceiling of success. We actually went, well, okay, he's still doing all the right things, but there was no more leverage. So then we had to change the setup and find another way to get him resourceful. And it came to the point where I said, well, you know what? If you've made all this money and it's starting to slow down, how about get a job? Because that was the last thing he wanted to do, was get a job, because he'd now tasted that success in his business. And this was ego humbling kind of resource. It was very edgy. It's very, very edgy. So by doing this, because he trusts me, he's just like, okay, cool, man. If you think that's the thing you need to go do, he went and did it. And I realized, holy shit, for me to be able to help this guy truly and be in integrity, I can't ask him to do something I'm not doing. So I went and did that. So people were asking me on this call since the coaching thing. I went and got my first job in 10 years, handing out towels for $24 an hour, and went and did that. Humbled myself so I could be in integrity with myself, my business, my family, all the goals I have and my clients. And it was the biggest shit pie I've eaten in a long time, probably since my father, the thing I shared there. And so these things here, all resources. Now, not everybody would get this around the ego humbling, but I know everybody on this call probably does. So the idea here was, with this client, by us all doing these things, by using these setbacks and challenges and going into them rather than avoiding the storm, we went into the storm together. My client was actually able to then flip. He wasn't getting paid by a few clients because he went down the NDIS route. He was then actually able to then put his invoices in as NDIS, and he got paid. And then he was able to leverage his coaching skills to triple his pay rate. He was then able to then use that to further leverage the people stuff and things that he had to run an event. And we actually refer clients to each other. And he had his biggest month in the whole year and quit the job now. He thinks that's pretty amazing in terms of turning something out of nothing. And from there, me personally, I was able to have the biggest month I've had from multiple sources of income. Definitely not the job. But from coaching and some other deals, property wise, my biggest personal month. And also I've been wanting to support Matt's community like this, and I finally let it go and just dealt with some of my shit, and here I am, and here you guys are. And so the proof's in the pudding, if you know what I mean. And you've been wondering, Carol and Danielle, you're wondering what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing. So using everything as a resource, I see lessons, challenges, crises, all of those things, necessary conflict as the key to the next stage. I live and breathe this. I get my clients to, and if we really do believe that, we're loved, we're safe, we're worthy, that we're safe, you know, that everything's okay, even when it feels like it's not. Maybe something new can happen in this kind of situation. We can move into that void space. We can move into that storm and create something completely new of our own design.